Politics and cruelty, cruelty and politics. What's the relationship between those two things? Let's talk about it. The far left and the far right are among the most cruel areas of the political spectrum, so to speak. No side of the political spectrum, no side is immune from being cruel. No side has a monopoly on cruelty or kindness or compassion. But the far left and the far right, boy, they get heated. Boy, are they quick to demonize people who disagree with them. Now, I'm not going to come out here and pretend to be some enlightened centrist and say that they're equal, because I'm actually here to tell you that there's an important difference between cruelty on the far left and cruelty on the far right, and explain why I believe that cruelty on the far right blows cruelty on the far left out of the water. So, cruelty on the far left is a bug rather than a feature. Let's just be honest with ourselves. We know that the left is at war with itself. We know that they struggle. They struggle to bring forward a coherent message, and they're at each other's throats. They tone police. They lecture each other. They can't come forward unanimously and say, we are against the right and we're uniting as a left. Whereas you look at the right, there's quite a bit more unity, even if there's some division. So people on the left are very willing to call other leftists, people to the left of them, out for acts of cruelty. They think that, look, Republicans, we can come together with them. They're just a little insane sometimes. And, we disavow the communists, we disavow the Marxists, we disavow the people who say eat the rich, for example, and those types of things, like eat the rich seems like a call to violence. So we don't like it. They call out Luigi Mangione, for example. That was a cruel act that he engaged in, shooting a man, regardless of what your opinion is of the health insurance system. You should not do that. That is despicable. That's taking a life from this planet. He had a family. His family has been deprived of him. So that's how the far left handles cruelty. They generally are not unanimous. They correct each other. And while there will always be plenty of cruelty on the far left, we know that people on the left condemn it. What about the right, though? What is their cruelty like? So I said that cruelty on the far left was a bug rather than a feature. On the far right, it's a feature, not a bug. And arguably, cruelty and right-wing politics combined are what makes someone far right. Think about what the Trump administration is doing right now. They are deporting people without due process to prison camps with horrific conditions in El Salvador. As we speak, we don't even know what these people have done because they didn't get subject to due process. Well, they might be Venezuelan gang members. They might be crazy. They might be killers. They might be rapists. Can't we just get rid of them? Kristi Noem taking videos in front of prisons with these prisoners there, silent, just looking mortified, saying, oh yeah, if you do bad things, you're going to get sent here, don't cross our border, man. And right-wingers are like, yes, they're salivating at these images. So am I saying that you need to be compassionate for every single criminal, every single illegal immigrant? No. You should support due process for them, though. That's the thing. Lack of compassion is all right. It is. You don't need to be actively compassionate, but you certainly should not be cruel. You certainly should not be depriving people of their rights, and you certainly should not be laughing or taking joy in the idea of people having their rights deprived from them, people being treated poorly. Think about all the people on the far right who made jokes about George Floyd with the knee on his neck, made jokes about Paul Pelosi getting beaten with a hammer back in October 2022. Think about all the jokes they made about January 6th. Think about the jokes that they made about Gabby Giffords when she was shot back in 2011. Think about jokes that they made about Obama. They were calling him a monkey. They were doing pictures of him being hung. This is real deep stuff. This is not stuff that you see as a mainstay on the far left. And if people on the far left come out with stuff like that, they get swiftly condemned by the Democratic Party, by the center left. But the far right, the problem is that the center right types, they can't admit that they have a problem on their side. They will still say that the left are the biggest enemies. They say, well, in order to continue our messaging that the left are the biggest enemies, we have to focus all of our ire on the left, and we can't criticize the cruelty that's rampant on our own side. And over time, those right-wingers who don't seem so cruel at one point start to become more and more cruel. They start shifting further and further right. They see, well, look, Trump is a normal Republican and he's deporting people to El Salvadorian prisons. So if Trump's a normal Republican, then I have to defend him. So yeah, no, that's cool. Actually, he's obviously just deporting criminals, right? So they're either lying or they're cruel. But some of them are like, yeah, no, I don't even care. I don't even care. Deport people who I do not like, lock them up if I don't like them. There are right-wing YouTubers who say we should imprison left-wing YouTubers just by virtue of what they say. Brazen violation of free speech. But they expressed opinions that they don't like, so they get whatever's coming to them. They deserve to be locked up for saying stuff that the far right disagrees with. I'm sorry, but where are the hard left YouTubers who are calling for imprisonment of right-wing YouTubers? We don't see that. The latest example of cruelty on the far right has actually been the people celebrating the collapse of the stock market. And you're going to hear these people doing all sorts of cope about the stock market is actually just a reflection of rich people's emotional feelings. And when it's down, it just means rich people aren't feeling well. Here's the problem, though. When the stock market tanks, it harms everyone. When it's doing well, it's not helping many people. It's not helping many people. It's helping the top 1%, maybe a little more, give or take. But it's not helping regular people. But when the stock market tanks, it harms the middle class, it harms the lower middle class. They socialize the losses, so to speak. They spread it out. Socialized losses, meaning the losses are essentially turned into a form of socialism. So we all pay for it. We all pay when the stock market crashes, when the stock market does well. We do not necessarily reap the dividends. So that's the problem. So right-wingers are like, yes, talk about tariffs, implement tariffs, and if it harms the stock market, if it harms people, I think that's great. Yeah. Oh yeah, no. Corporations, yeah. You like corporations? You think you want the stock market to do well? What do you like, corporations or something? No. We recognize that when the stock market doesn't do well, it harms regular people. Once again, these buffoons show that they don't care about regular people. So, what's the deal with this cruelty? There are jokes they make about, pictures of like kids in cages saying like, these are going to be my Christmas card pictures. Like, even if you're just saying that as a joke, why did that come to your head? You freak. Why? There just aren't left-wingers who act like that. Now, there are far left-wingers who said some egregious stuff during the pandemic. They laughed about the deaths of unvaccinated people. That is despicable behavior. It is. But the left self-corrected. There were articles pushing back on that, saying, no, do not do that. Do not do that. Where are the articles from concerned right-wingers saying, stop celebrating the stock market crash? Or saying, stop deporting people without due process. Stop laughing at immigrants who have bad stuff happen to them, who have their rights violated. Just stop. They don't do it. Nope, the right will not self-correct. And that's because the far right keeps moving farther right. And the center right of today is going to be the far right of 2029. You can bet it. There's something really dangerous happening in this country. Cruelty is being normalized. And you know what? The people that we say are cruel right now, they might actually seem like very genuine, kind right-wingers 4 years from now or 5 years from now. And then there'll be a whole new brand of psychotic nut jobs where their cruelty is not a bug. It's not a bug, it's a feature. It's essential to who they are in their politics. People on the left, it's like, yeah, it's a feature. Or a bug. And we gotta fix that bug. We gotta talk to progressives and tell them, no, do not act cruel. Do not laugh when right-wing or right-adjacent people get injured, when bad stuff happens to them, when they lose their job. We're all human. We're all in this together. We all have economic needs that need to be met. We all have bodies that we need to keep safe, and we don't want our bodies harmed. We all have constitutional rights that should not be violated. But one side recognizes this, and the other side doesn't. So yes, There's plenty of cruelty to go around. But I hope that I've helped you understand that the difference is that the cruelty functions differently on both sides. On the left, it's a bug. On the right, it's a feature. Are right-wing political positions inherently cruel? Not necessarily. Not all of them. But they lace their positions with a lot of cruelty. Yeah, illegal immigrant gets killed, illegal immigrant gets deported, sent to El Salvador. Whatever. Legal immigrant gets sent to El Salvador. Person who's not even an immigrant, person who's just in America, natural born citizen, gets sent to El Salvador. Whatever, I don't like them, they're bad. That is the way their cruelty works. They lace their politics with their cruelty. Either that or the cruelty is what creates their politics to begin with. I'm not inside their brains, fortunately, to the extent that they have any. So I don't know what the relationship is. All I'm saying is that I notice the way cruelty works on the far left and the far right. And I'm not far left. I'm not. As I said, I don't agree with killing healthcare CEOs. I don't agree with mocking the deaths of unvaccinated people. That's categorically despicable. I'm just a simple guy, just a normal guy who advocates solutions for everyone. Basically the opposite of cruelty. I take what I think is good about the left and I talk about it. I take what I think is good about the right, which they do have some good points every once in a while, and I talk about it. I just so happen to see that there's a lot more problems on the right than the left, and cruelty is another one of those areas. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, or subscribe to the channel. What's your opinion on cruelty? This has been the Morris the Merrier. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you in my next video.